Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of Hindu News Analysis. This is Shyam Kaggod here, taking up the discussion of the Hindu News Analysis dated 6th September 2025. Now, before I start the discussion, please do let me know, am I audible and visible for all of you? Give the confirmation that I'm audible and visible. Anybody in the chat section? Great. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So in today's session, I've taken a total of 11 articles. Total of 11 articles. All of them are from the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper, spanning from the polity, science and technology, defense, internal security, and as usual, the Indian economy. We will discuss these articles one by one, and I will also give you certain MCQs as well as descriptive questions to practice, and I will also give you certain mind maps as well. If you're liking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Let's start the discussion. But before that, two very important announcements. The first one, if you're somebody who's preparing for the Civil Services 26 and 2027, just ensure that you have a comprehensive coverage of the static portion, correct updation of the current affairs material. You'll have to have reading material as well. And please attempt as many test series possible for both prelims as well as mains examination. Once you enroll into our program, which is available at the lowest price of 17,999 now, you will get access to all of these. Those who are interested to enroll into our program, please do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. Now, before I start the first article, a lot of you keep on, right, let's say pasting the comment, right, or sending a mail asking me where is the PPT available, where is the PDF available, etc. Listen to me very carefully. Be it economy this week or be it the Hindu news analysis that I take, there is only one source where you will get all the PPTs as well as the handouts. Please check the description section of any of the videos that I'm taking. Check in the description. There will be one link with the title like this. Click on the link. You will be taken to this particular window. Right? Automatically, this particular window will pop up. Go to the bottom part. You will see a third page or the third tab, newspaper PPT. And there you will get one link. Click on the link. It will take you to the drive. And in this particular drive, all the PPTs that I'm using will be available to you. Done? So let me start the discussion. The first article, I'm clubbing two articles by the way, and I'm pretty sure all of you have been reading regarding what is happening in the context of GST. So I'll just give you the, right, let's say the overview of what you're supposed to understand from these set of articles. The government of India very recently has announced GST rate rationalization. Now, let me ask you one very simple question by the way. What if, imagine you're sitting in the interview and the chairperson in the interview board will ask you, define what is the meaning of rationalization. I'll repeat the statement. What if they will ask you, please define what is the meaning of rationalization? I'm pretty sure a lot of you will basically falter, or you will give a wrong answer, or you will give incomplete answer. Because according to you, rationalization would mean what? You will simply say rationalization means reducing the tax rates. Correct? Please do let me know. A lot of you will basically say rationalization means what? According to you, reducing the tax rates. And that is exactly what has been done by the government. Earlier, rather than having, right, let's say the multiple slabs as it was announced earlier, that is since the introduction of GST, where we had 5%, 12, 18 and 28%, the government of India has done away with, right, two of the slabs. And right now we have a 5, 18 and another one for demerit goods, that is 40%. This is rate rationalization. So if they will ask you define rate rationalization, please do not simply say reducing the tax rate. No, it is basically adjusting the tax rates, adjusting the structure in such a way that it will become more rational, it will become more efficient. Is my term okay with all of you? Please do let me know in the chat section. And I can give you other examples as well. For example, you will come across the term subsidy rationalization. Subsidy rationalization. If I ask you what is meaning of subsidy rationalization, please don't simply say reducing subsidy. No, it's not reducing subsidy. For example, LPG subsidy, we have rationalized it. What we have done? We have identified certain people who should not be given the LPG subsidy. We have discontinued. And we have identified more households who should get access to LPG subsidy. We are giving them the LPG subsidy. So rationalization is not reducing, it is adjusting in order to make the whole system much more efficient. It should make more sense. That is basically the idea for rationalization. Done. Now, what has been done by the government? 5%. Most of the goods and services have been brought under 5% and 18%, and one more rate, 40%. What is the objective? If somebody will ask you what is the objective, please look at the 7 pillars. This is according to the government document. According to the government document, the 7 pillars, what they are trying to achieve by implementing GST 2.0. What are the 7 pillars? 1. The building of success of GST. Central theme of GST is one nation, one taxation. But right now we had multiple rates of taxation. We want to reduce, we want to rationalize, have lower number of slabs. That is the first very important pillar. Second very important pillar, rationalizing for fair taxation. That is, ensure that the duties or the taxes which are paid are correct, are rational, are right applicable in a lower rate for poor households, middle income households, etc. Fair taxation, that is the second pillar. Third pillar is simplification of the whole structure. Because the idea of introducing GST was what? Rather than having multiple indirect taxes, we wanted to have one indirect tax. But it was not possible with multiple number of slabs. Now we want to simplify the whole structure of GST. Fourth one, helping the consumers. How? Reduce the tax rate. It will help in terms of reducing market prices. And when the market prices will go down, consumers will be helped by that. Fifth one, MSMEs as well as manufacturers. Earlier, there was an issue of inverted duty structure. Now we want to address this particular problem of inverted duty structure. We have proposed a simple registration process also under the latest reforms, where within 3 days, automatically registration shall be provided for these micro enterprises, small enterprises, which will promote formalization in the system. The sixth pillar is stronger states, stronger Bharat. The overall argument is over a period of time, the consumption will increase, the demand for the goods and services will increase because of the lower market prices. The tax base will widen. The tax base will widen, and this will help in collecting more amount of taxes in a long term. Don't look at immediate short term. Immediate short term, there will be loss of revenues. And finally, lower taxes is equal to higher spending. So these are the 7 pillars based on which the government of India has announced the GST 2.0. Is everybody okay with the discussion so far? Please do let me know. Is everybody okay with the discussion? But having said so, please listen to me very carefully. No doubt, with this kind of a reform, we are going to promote ease of doing business. We are going to promote ease of living for the people. We are going to promote consumption. We are going to promote investment, which will have a multiplier effect on the GDP, etc. All these are the outcomes. But is there any challenge associated with this kind of a reform? Right? If you want to have an overall viewpoint, is there any challenge associated with this kind of a reform? And please have a look at this particular mind map that I've created here. It is going to provide you the basics of GST, the basic points associated with GST, and what are the issues we are trying to address by implementing GST 2.0, and what are the benefits. But there is one point, last point, that is the challenge. What is the challenge? What is the challenge with these kind of reforms? The challenge, one essential challenge will be, how will the government ensure that the companies or the sellers will transfer the benefit to buyers? Listen to me very carefully. How the government will ensure that the companies or the sellers, it will transfer the benefit of the rate reduction to the consumers in the market. The term that you need to remember in this context is, what if the sellers will profiteer? Is it okay? What if the sellers will profiteer from this? Right? Because right now, listen to me carefully. Right now, we do not have a national anti-profiteering authority. Earlier, there was a term called as NAA, National Anti-Profiteering Authority, which was implemented in 2017. And what was the objective of National Anti-Profiteering Authority? They will conduct investigation and they will take up the cases. If any seller is not transferring the benefit of rate reduction, complete benefit of rate reduction to the buyers, then the action would be taken against this particular seller or a company. And those who are wondering, sir, what are you talking about? What is profiteering here? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine the actual price is 100 rupee. Government is taxing this as 12% GST. The market price including GST will become 112. Now, if this particular product will be brought under the ambit of 5%, then the market price automatically should come down to 105. So basically, this means you as a consumer has been, or you have been given the complete benefit of rate reduction. If instead of 105, if the product is sold at 108, 107, 9, then you are not getting the complete benefit of rate reduction. The seller is profiteering. So the argument is, what if there is a profiteering exercise conducted by the sellers? And that is the precise reason. Please look at the headline here. All of you, please look at the headline of the second article that I'm clubbing with the first article. The government minister, or let's say the government authorities, are simply saying they will ensure that GST benefit will reach to the consumers. The Minister of Trade and Commerce is ensuring, in a statement has given, that the government will ensure that the benefit of rate reduction will reach to you and me. Now, how it will be done? Various experts are arguing now. Government might basically continue the application of GST anti-profiteering laws or provisions. The government might reintroduce anti-profiteering provisions. And as of now, please listen to me carefully. The new cases of profiteering are not being accepted. I'll repeat the statement. If you want to file a case against one company where you feel there is a profiteering activity, new cases are not being accepted. Why? National Anti-Profiteering Authority has ceased to exist. They have closed it down. After that, the function was transferred to Competition Commission of India. Now, from the Competition Commission of India, it has been transferred to the GST Appellate Tribunal. GST Appellate Tribunal. Now, whether the GST Appellate Tribunal is allowed to take up new cases, the government will decide. Because from this financial year, I repeat, from this financial year, no new cases of anti-profiteering are supposed to be accepted by the GST AT. So everybody is able to understand the discussion here. I'm not getting into the details of the GST 2.0, right? I'm not getting into the details because I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of this multiple times by now. For example, yesterday also Astha ma'am has covered the right discussion of GST 2.0 in detail. I'm more focused on the challenge going forward, what has to be done by the government. Is everybody okay? Please do let me know. Is everybody okay with the discussion? Please download the mind map, extrapolate these particular points. You will have sufficient data, right? You will have to have sufficient data to write, let's say, question, if at all it is asked for 150 words or 250 words. Done then. So let's solve an MCQ. Please take up this particular MCQ and solve this as soon as possible. Consider the following statements regarding goods and services taxation. The GST allows for concurrent taxation. The GST has subsumed all the indirect taxes at the central and the state level. The GST Council is a constitutional body. A lot of you will feel second and third statements are easy. Some of you will feel difficulty in terms of the first statement. What is the right answer? Please do let me know. Devendra says a C. What about others? Very quickly, what about others? Nobody wants to answer. Okay, let's start. Third statement, the GST Council is a constitutional body. Yes, it's a constitutional body. Article 279, right? So, constitutional body. GST has subsumed all the indirect taxes at the central and the state level. No, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. As we speak, even today, there are certain taxes at the center, at the state level, which are not under the ambit of GST. These are not part of the GST itself. For example, the taxes right on alcohol used for human consumption. The first statement, GST allows for concurrent taxation. What is the meaning of concurrent taxation? Listen to me carefully. Earlier, if you see, right, before the introduction of GST, can I simply say the production activity was taxed by the central government? Is it okay? Before the GST was introduced, the production was taxed by the central government. And what about the sales activity or the sales transaction? The sales transaction was taxed by the state government. What does it actually mean? According to the provisions of the Constitution, one transaction cannot be taxed by both center and state simultaneously. I'll repeat the statement. Understand the meaning of concurrent taxation. One transaction cannot be taxed by both center and state simultaneously. But now you tell me, if a product is sold which attracts a GST of 5%, can I simply say out of 5%, we have a 2.5% which is central GST. We have another 2.5% which is state GST. So can I simply say one transaction now under GST is concurrently taxed, simultaneously taxed by both center and state. This is called as concurrent taxation. So GST allows for concurrent taxation. Absolutely true. Please remember this. So two of the statements are right. Right option for the question will be option B. Only two are correct. Okay. Now please take up a descriptive question also for mains answer writing practice. I've given two questions here. Right. The first one is, the recent reforms in GST are designed not merely to fix today's problems, but also to unlock India's growth potential for the decade ahead. Elaborate. 250 words. Second question, GST 2.0 is more than just a tax reform. It is an economic reform that promises to boost consumption, empower MSMEs, strengthen competitiveness, and reinforce India's growth momentum. It lays the foundation for India's next phase of economic expansion. Elaborate, again in 250 words. If you ask me personally, the first question is more cryptic in nature. Second question is more easier because what they're expecting you is expansion of these individual terms. How it will help in promotion of manufacturing activity. How it will boost MSME. How it will boost consumption. That is very clearly written in the second question. Done? So please take up this particular question. One of these two questions. Try to write a very effective answer. Let me go to the next article. India's strategic autonomy. Right? India's strategic autonomy written by Mr. Shashi Tharoor. First and foremost, what you mean by the term strategic autonomy? Right? What is the meaning of strategic autonomy? Please understand, strategic autonomy simply means it is the ability of a country to make decisions in foreign policy and defense without being constrained by external pressures or alliance obligations. Meaning what? Take the example of India. Please take the example of India. Automatically, you will understand what is the meaning of strategic autonomy. Right now, India is being pushed and pulled in different directions. Some of the countries right, want to talk to India, want to negotiate with India, want to have trade relations with India. Some other countries do not want India to be participating in other groupings like this. One country, for example, USA, very recently the statement has been issued by a representative of administration in USA. The representative, Mr. Lutnick, says India has to decide whether they want to be with Russia or they want to be with us. So I hope you understand, in diplomacy, that is in foreign relations, there are so many pushes as well as pulls. Now, in this particular situation, the government of India will take a call based on its self-interest, based on its own interest, to protect its own interest. Whether one country likes it, another country doesn't like it, doesn't matter. That is basically the concept of strategic autonomy. Is everybody okay with the term strategic autonomy? If I want to explain this in a very simple way, very simple example, you must have heard of a statement in various ads, it will come across, right? One statement is there: Suno sabki, karo apni. Correct? Have you heard of this? Suno sabki, karo apni. That is, right? So others who do not understand Hindi, listen to everybody, but do what you want to do in order to protect your interest. That is strategic autonomy. Now, what are the examples that have been provided in this article to prove the point that yes, India has shifted from the concept of non-alignment, which was basically one of the, right, let's say, pillars of our foreign relations, right, at the time of independence, to the concept of multi-alignment. From non-alignment to multi-alignment. How can we say we have shifted like this? Look at the examples which have been provided. In the current situation, I'll club this as well. In the current situation, what are the things that are being discussed in the context of India and diplomacy? One is the country USA, another one is the country Russia, and the third one is China. Correct? All of you okay? Right? So at the center of all these particular three countries, Trioca, at the center is India. Now, what is happening between India and USA? What is happening between India and USA? No doubt, in the last 2 decades, the relationship between, or the evolution of relation between India and USA has nothing been short of a miracle. It has been one of the most defining movements, or let's say the developments of bilateral relations in the last 20 to 25 years. The kind of, let's say, relation that was existing earlier during 1960s, 1970s, that kind of a system has been dispensed with, and in the last 2 decades the relationship has bloomed, it has blossomed, not just in terms of trade. Please understand, not only in terms of trade, in terms of defense, if in terms of, right, other cooperation as well. For example, very recently, the last session that I took, I mentioned one bilateral exercise, Yudh Abhyas, right? So the relations between India and USA are not just focused on trade. The relationship has blossomed in terms of, let's say, movement of labor, movement of diaspora, movement of, right, let's say, the companies from USA into India. The relationship in terms of, let's say, cultural relationship or defense tie-ups as such. But in the last 2 to 3 months, this relationship between India and USA has taken a hit. It has taken a hit. Why? It all started with a new administration coming into power, or new government being formed in USA, and announcement of tariffs on India. Announcement of tariffs on India, followed by tariffs, right? More and more pressure has been exerted. Initially, the tariff was to basically negotiate a trade agreement with India. Then, Russian oil imports were considered, additional penalty tariffs were announced. Now, India attracts around 50% tariffs on more than $40 billion worth of exports that it does to USA. And not just this, in the recent times, the kind of good cop and bad cop statements which are being issued by the administrations of USA or administrators of USA. One of the, right, let's say, closest allies of Mr. Trump will go on the news and basically say it is Modi's war that is being fought in Russia. They'll basically insult India and say India is acting as a laundromat. They'll basically say, right, the Brahmins in India, without understanding how the caste hierarchy is set up in India, right, what kind of businessmen are present in India, what kind of business we are doing, without understanding the details, they'll simply say the Indians need to understand the Brahmins are making profits, whereas the others are suffering because of that, etc. So these kind of statements have basically hurt the relationship between India and USA. But please understand, The writer also simply says, despite so many things which are thrown at India by the administration of USA, government of India has held steady. The policy of government of India from the beginning, when these kind of things started happening, the policy has remained the same. What is the policy? We will do trade with whomsoever we want. We will buy oil with any country that will give us a discount. We will conduct a trade wherever our interest lies. Right? So this is how, right? Basically, have a look at this, and at the same point of time, understand the argument here. At the same point of time, have we basically discontinued negotiating with USA? Despite so many statements, so much tariff, penalty, etc. being announced, did we stop negotiating with USA? No. Even today, the government of India simply says we are still negotiating with USA. So we are holding the relations, we are having the relations, but at the same point of time, the decisions that we are taking are to protect our interest. Strategic autonomy. Everybody is able to understand in the context of India and USA. What about between India and Russia? And by the way, all of this is being discussed in point wise, or let's say in certain points in the article here. Now, what about India and Russia? If you look at the relation between India and Russia, these are not new. Since the Cold War, I repeat, since the Cold War, there has been a relationship between India and Russia. It's a very, very long standing relation. For example, in 1960s and 70s, they supplied us lot of defense equipments. Whenever in the United Nations, whenever resolutions were introduced to impose a certain sanctions, impose certain actions against India, Russia has vetoed. Earlier it was not Russia, but don't worry. And please don't type in the comment section saying that, sir, earlier it was not Russia, it was called with a different name. I do understand. You also do understand that. Don't worry. Right. So from that particular point of time, when we started getting assistance, right, in United Nations, right, in let's say defense supply, even during let's say the struggle to give independence to Bangladesh, even at that point of time, Russia stood by India. So argument is, it has been a time tested, very lengthy relationship between India and Russia. But at the same point of time, please understand, in recent times, what is being observed? The relations between Russia and China are getting better. I hope you understand this. The relationship between the China as well as Russia is getting better and better. How so? After Russia invaded Ukraine, launched an attack in Ukraine, sanctions were imposed by multiple countries, G7 group of countries, on Russia. Immediately, China took this as an opportunity, improved its trade relation with Russia. For example, today, China is the major buyer, the highest quantity buyer of Russian crude. China has conducted trade with Russia in terms of yuan. Yuan settlement is being done. I hope you understand. Instead of using dollar, because the sanctions have been imposed on Russia, yuan settlement is being done between the trade between Russia and China. But does it mean that India has taken a back step in having relations with Russia? No, India still is continuing to hold negotiations with Russia. We have imported defense equipments from Russia. We have imported crude oil. We want to conduct more and more trade with Russia, in fact. So please again have a look at this. We are having relations despite Russia and China becoming more closer in recent times. India has not changed its stance. India continues to have very close relations with Russia to protect its own interest. Everybody is okay? Again, one more example of strategic autonomy. Now comes the third, that is a combination, India and China. India and China, very complicated combination. Why? Back in 2020, there were Galwan clashes. Correct? Galwan clashes back in 2020. And after the Galwan clashes took place, the relation between India and China went into cold storage. In essence, the relation took hit. The direct flights were cancelled. The trade was disrupted. Their investments in India was disrupted. And before that, when the discussion of RCP was taking place, India said, I don't want to be a party of RCP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, because, right, let's say China is one of the member countries in the RCP. Now, listen to me very carefully. After the thaw in the relationship between India and China, in recent times, the relationships have become better. Again, I'm saying relationships have become better compared to what it was in 21, 22, 23. Right? Recent times, the relationship has improved. Now, not right, understand this improvement in the relationship, despite knowing that China has supplied equipments to Pakistan. China is investing in Pakistan. The CPEC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, is a point of contention for India. Despite knowing all of this, we have been right negotiating with China. So again, the argument is strategic autonomy. Right. So I hope you understand now. Right. I've clubbed all these particular points, right, which have been mentioned, and I've given more points as well. Anybody has a problem, please do drop, right, let's say, comment in the chat section. So whatever examples have been provided, more than that I've given. This is basically to prove that India, despite facing so much pressure, despite experiencing so many pulls and pushes, is still holding its ground, is taking decisions to protect its own interest. Whether we like what other countries are doing or not, doesn't matter, right? We are still holding negotiations with them. We are still, right, open to talks, open to trade, etc. And this is a precise reason why the standing of India in the global market is actually improving now. I'll give you one example. In the last 24 to 48 hours, if you're following what is happening in the international relations, you will see suddenly India has become the epicenter of Russia Ukraine conflict. It has become the epicenter. Epicenter how? Not by participating in the conflict. Ukraine representatives, including the head of Ukraine, is talking to Indian government. European Union representatives are talking to Indian government. Right, the external affairs minister, right, met the counterpart from Ukraine. Why? The reason they are saying is India is easily able to get access to Russia now. They have an open channel with Russia, and that was very much on display during the recently conducted SEO meet. So they want India to play a very dominant role or an important role in bringing this particular conflict between Russia and Ukraine to a stop. Right? So that is the precise reason why this particular article makes more sense considering what is happening. But having said so, what should be the way forward? What should be the way forward? Please understand. Just like there are no permanent enemies or permanent friends, this is applicable even in the international relations as well. What we need to do is, I'll basically echo the same argument that was put forward by the Prime Minister on the 15th August speech. Prime Minister argued for self-reliance. Correct? All of you heard of this particular term? Prime Minister argued for self-reliance. Why? What is the global setup today? There is no guarantee that it will continue the same after 1 year or after 2 years. For example, what if tomorrow Mr. Trump will have negotiations with, let's say, Xi Jinping, the Premier of China, and both of them will sign an agreement? Then the economic issues that the China is facing will be resolved to a very great extent. So do you think China will be more open to discussing trade, discussing border disputes, etc., as they're discussing today with India? So argument is focus on self-reliance. In what way? Develop technology. Invest in developing tools in India. Invest in R&D. Promote more and more employment in the domestic market. That will help us in not only, right, being relevant in the global market, but also continue to take decisions based on our strategic autonomy requirements. Done? Everybody is okay? Right? Some of you will ask me, sir, any examples of this? For example, have you heard of this? Digital Public Infrastructure. DPIs, Digital Public Infrastructure. For example, Agriculture Stack, UPI, right? Or Aadhaar for that matter. All these are very important DPIs. And what is the importance of this? India has invested a lot of money. we have, right, let's say this kind of a, right, a stack, right, that is a technology stack. This will help us not only use this technology in the Indian market, also supply to the global market. And that will improve the soft power of India. Right? So these are certain very important arguments in the context of having strategic autonomy. Please make a note of all of them. Done? Right? This is basically one more point which has been, right, let's say, stated by Mr. Donald Trump. In the last 24 hours, two very important statements have been given. Listen to me carefully. UPSC will not ask you this in the prelims, but listen to me. Initially, Mr. Donald Trump, in the, right, let's say, Truth Social, right, basically similar to X platform, Truth Social, right, now posted a truth. They call this as a truth. Okay, so posted a truth. Right, what was the statement given by Mr. Donald Trump? The president of USA simply says, right, USA has lost India. USA has lost India as well as Russia too, right? Let's say China now, right? Let them be happy, etc., etc. The statement went on like this. But in the last 4 hours, one more statement has been issued. While talking to the press persons, the president of USA stated that no, India and USA relations are very good, right? We will have these kind of frictions, but right, Mr. Donald Trump, that's the president of USA, likes India, loves India, as well as the prime minister of India. So already you can see there's a pivot. They are already preparing for a pivot, that is a deviation like this, just to hold talks with India. But anyways, let's wait and see, right? A lot of interesting things are happening in the international relations right now. Everybody is okay with that article? Let me go to the next one. Environmental audit rules. Right? What is this editorial talking about? Yesterday's video, if you have not yet seen, please do check out the Hindu news analysis, which was taken by Astha ma'am. This article was there, that is associated with environmental audit rules, was there yesterday also, was discussed, but today it has appeared in editorial. What are the important points you need to remember? Point number one, we have a different setup, right? That the central level, we have one authority. At the state level, we have one more authority. That is a Central Pollution Control Board, CB, Central Pollution Control Board. And at the state level, we have State Pollution Control Board. And using these two authorities, we are basically checking, we are ensuring all the stakeholders, all the participants of the economy, they are correctly implementing the provisions of different laws which have been implemented to protect environment. Is everybody okay? There are different laws and there are different provisions under each of the law. Now there should be somebody who's going to check whether the companies which are manufacturing, which are polluting, which are disposing of the waste, etc., they are implementing, they are following the guidelines. But the problem that government of India faces is they do not have sufficient manpower, they do not have sufficient infrastructure to keep a check on all of this. I'll give you one simple example. The government of India launched an initiative by the name of Startup India. All of you heard of this? Startup India. Under Startup India, one of the provisions was the government now will not be conducting, right, let's say, examination. The government will not be checking whether you're following the rules and guidelines under environmental protection laws. There will be self-certification. I'll repeat, there will be self-certification. That is, you as the owner of the company will have to submit a certificate to the government saying that you are abiding by all the laws. You are abiding by all the provisions which have been implemented in order to protect the environment. But again, the question arises, there has to be a checks and balance in the system. How will the government come to know just by you certifying it, just by you declaring that you're following the guidelines, whether you're actually following or not? There should be a check like this. That's the reason the government simply says, I do not have sufficient infrastructure as well as manpower. So what is the solution now? The government of India, that is Ministry of Environment and Forest, under the Environmental Protection Act, has introduced the concept of Environmental Audit Rules 2025. In a nutshell, if you want to understand this in a very easy way, all of you have come across a chartered accountants. Do let me know. Have you heard of the term chartered accountants? These chartered accountants are experts, are specialists in accounting exercise. These have a license, these are registered, these are selected through a particular examination process, and right, basically they will help in filing of the documents, getting the approvals, etc. etc. Apply the same logic even to the environmental protection laws now. Right? Just apply the same logic. Just like we have chartered accountants in finances, now the government of India has proposed experts who will have a license, who will be registered with an authority, who will basically take care of the auditing process. That is, for example, if you are a company which is supposed to treat, right, let's say whenever you release a certain wastages, now there will be an auditing, and this auditing shall be done by not by the government authorities but by a private auditor who will be following the rules which has been announced by the government here. So what are the important points associated with these 2025 rules? Please make a note of all of these. Rules mandate that there should be one agency established. There should be one centralized agency. What will be the role of this particular agency, which will be named as Environment Audit Designated Agency? I'll start using the short form EADA. This agency shall be set up, right? Most probably this will happen through executive resolution. It will be set up and it will basically oversee the concept of conducting examination for the auditors, issuing licenses for the auditors, that is conducting registration process for the auditors, whether they are following the norms or not, etc. That will be the role of EADA. Rules have been established for a dual pathway. What do you mean by dual pathway? What if I'm already an expert in conducting environmental audits? In that case, based on my prior learning, based on my experience, I will be allowed to be registered directly. But what if I'm a newcomer? What if I'm a newcomer? Then basically, right, a new entrance will have to appear for an examination, national certification examination. And all of that will be under the purview of EADA. And once I go through this particular process, let's say I've written the exam, I'm qualified now, I will have to be registered with the EADA. And once I've registered, registration will be applicable for a period of 5 years. The registration will be applicable for 5 years, and after 5 years, again, there will be a review of the process conducted. And if required, if you are still, right, let's say, fit to continue these particular exercises, then it will be extended for another 5 years. Renewed after the review after 5 years. Done? Right, so all these are the important points associated with the Environmental Audit Rules 2025. It was there in the newspaper yesterday as well as today also. Under GS paper 3, ecology and environment, this will be a very important area you need to be focused. Okay, now based on this, please solve the MCQ. As soon as possible, please solve the MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding Environmental Audit Rules 2025. The Environment Audit Designated Agency will be a constitutional body. The auditors registered will have to renew their registrations every year. Right? Is it a constitutional body? No. Right? The auditors registered will have to renew their registrations every year? No, once every 5 years. Right option for the question will be option D. None of the above two statements are correct. Okay, next article. I've taken two articles, one from today's newspaper, one from 29th August 2025. Why? Basically to signify that this concept or this particular topic has been there in the discussion in the last 1 week itself. The article is associated with MGNREGA. Article is associated with MGNREGA. Now, those who are writing exams next year, please remember this. MGNREGA will become very important for you. I'll repeat it again. MGNREGA will become very, very important for you. Why? MGNREGA has completed 20 years. That is the reason. Please remember this. MGNREGA has completed 20 years. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has completed 11 years. So these kind of initiatives automatically will become very important, not only for the preliminary examination, but also for the mains examination. And that's the reason, again, I'm reiterating this particular point. Please have the habit of having all the current affairs related to these kind of concepts at one place. For example, before I discuss what is there here, for example, please have a look at this particular mind map. Please have a look at this particular mind map. What I've done in this particular mind map is listed out 5 very important current affairs articles only related to Manrega in the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, what are the important articles which have been associated with Manrega? I've listed them out. Now you tell me if you can do this. Let's say important schemes, 5 important articles or 6 important articles, 8 important updates in the last 1 year. Will the revision becomes easier for you? Will the writing answer for 150 or 250 words become easier for you? So this is the point I'm trying to basically convey here. Develop this particular habit overnight. It will not happen, but this is my sincere advice to you. Develop the habit. Right. So come back to the discussion here. Manrega is staring at a very uncertain future. This is a political statement, but what is being discussed? Important points. First one, Manrega has completed 20 years. So September 2005, right? The announcement has happened. So we have completed 20 years. This becomes the first very important point. Second very important point, there is certain concern which is valid, by the way, very valid, right? The discussion is too much extreme because it's a statement given by Congress. Don't worry. What is the validity of the concern? Let's focus only on that. Manrega or MGNREGS, because it is a scheme. The scheme essentially is a demand-driven scheme. It is a demand-driven scheme. What do you mean by a demand-driven scheme? The government allocates certain funds in the annual budget, but because the demand for the wage days or demand for these particular wage opportunities could be higher, the government will end up spending more than what has been allocated. Is everybody able to understand this? What do you mean by that? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine I've allocated 100 crore rupees in a financial year under Manrega. That would be done in the budget. But is there any compulsion that I will have to spend exactly 100 crore, nothing more than that under Manrega? Absolutely no. Under Manrega, let's say more and more people will migrate to rural areas or villages. They will demand more jobs, more number of wage opportunities have to be provided. The expenditure will increase. It could even become 250 crore rupees. Government will have to provide for additional funding. This is basically the concept of demand-driven scheme. But Government of India in the current financial year has made a change. It has made a change. What is the change the Government of India has done? For the first 6 months, that is basically if you calculate from 1st of April till the end of September. Everybody is able to understand this very quickly. First 6 months of the financial year means 2 consecutive quarters, first and second. So till the end of September, the government simply says only 60% of the funds allocated can be utilized. Nothing more than that. 60%. I will cap the expenditure. And that 60% comes out to be how much? Allocation for the current financial year is around 86,000 crore rupees. 60% comes out to be just over 51,000 crore rupees. I'm not giving you exact number, right? I'm just giving you a round number, right? The round of number. Around 51,000 crore rupees. The concern now is you want to limit your expenditure to 60% of allocation. That comes out to be 51,000. In the first 5 months, and I hope all of you understand this, we are in the 6th month of the current financial year. So in the first 5 months, most of the funds have been utilized. So now the concern is, if you have already utilized most of the funds out of the cap that you have decided, what will you do for the allocation of funds in the 6th month then. What will you do for the allocation of funds in the 6th month? Because in the month of September, crores of Manrega workers will provide their labor services. They will have to be paid wages. So what will the government do then? That is the concern which has been raised. And mind you, please understand the complication here. The complication is this is basically legally to be provided to the Manrega workers. Legally means according to the Manrega, under the act, there is a provision. Once you have done the work, within so many days, the wages have to be provided to you. If there is a delay beyond a point, penalties are there, interest is there. So concern is what is the government of India going to do for the month of, right, let's say September. Everybody is okay with the discussion. So these are the two articles in the recent context, in the last, right, let's say 1 week itself, where they're discussing lot of right concepts associated with Manrega. Now, those who want, basically, some of you will simply say, sir, what about these articles? Can you give me these articles? I have not yet covered, etc. All you need to do is basically download the PPT. This is the article from Business Line, which says the type of opportunities, the wage opportunities which are covered, the list has been expanded. And this basically talks about the Development Monitoring Evaluation Office under Niti Aayog, DMEO under Niti Aayog, which has taken up the evaluation of Manrega now. Right. So if you want to read and have more information, download the PPT, read the articles. Please solve the MCQ. Quickly, please solve the MCQ. Consider the following statements. MGNREGS was notified during the term of 9th 5-year plan. Ministry of Rural Development is the nodal authority for the implementation of MGNREGS. Right, only first one is correct, second one is correct, both or none. Quickly tell me what is the answer. A lot of you will suddenly get confused with the first statement. Correct? A lot of you suddenly will get confused with the first statement. Why? According to you, planning is dead. Planning is irrelevant, etc. But UPSC has the habit of raising these kind of statements or giving these kind of statements. Manrega was notified during the term of 9th 5-year plan. No, not during the 9th 5-year plan. Right? In fact, Manrega was implemented or announced during the 10th 5-year plan, 2002 to 2007. And Manrega, like I said just now, has completed 20 years, means 2005. Ministry of Rural Development, MORD is the nodal authority. This is very easy statement, right? Second statement is correct. Second statement is straightforward correct, no difficulty. Only you will face difficulties in the first statement. So right option for the question will be option B, only second is correct. Now, couple of more articles, small bits of information. Recusals in higher courts. And what is the article talking about? Very recently, 3 instances have been quoted. Okay, very recently, there have been 3 instances where a Supreme Court justice recused from hearing a bail order or bail petition. This particular case for getting a bail was pending in this particular bench for more than 1 year. Multiple hearings have happened. Now suddenly an order has been issued by the Chief Justice saying that this judge going forward will not be hearing the case. The judge has recused. Means what? The judge is basically saying, I don't want to hear this bail petition. And this has not happened only in one instance. There have been 2 more instances. For example, in NCLAT, National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Right, which will basically take up the cases associated with Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, IBC. There also one of the, right, let's say retired judge who was presiding over one of the cases there, categorically stated, I've received a phone call from a judge from the higher judicial level. I repeat, the presiding officer in NCLAT says, right, regarding this particular case, I have been receiving calls from a particular member of judiciary. And this has not happened once, it has happened multiple times. They want to influence the outcome in this particular case. So I want to recuse myself. So please understand the argument here. The argument is very simple. In case of India, and this is the normal procedure outside India as well, multiple countries, whenever a judge recuses himself or herself from hearing a case, the reasoning is not provided. The clarity regarding for what purpose they are recusing, that information is generally not provided. And what is the argument here? The argument is this basically doesn't promote transparency then. You want the judiciary to be transparent. You want the judiciary to ensure the image of it. Whenever it will dispense the justice, it will be seen in the right way by the public. If you want to uphold integrity, if you want to uphold transparency and improve the image of the judiciary, make it compulsory that whenever a judge will recuse himself or herself, the reason behind that is also written. The cause for what that this particular step is being taken by the judge, that should be very clear. That will basically promote transparency in the judiciary. In fact, there is one judgment which has been quoted here. Right? Whenever you talk about the transparency in judiciary, this particular judgment will very often be cited. National Judicial Appointments Commission, NJAC, which was proposed by Government of India and struck down by the Supreme Court of India. In one of the dissenting judgments, right, basically it was written by Justice Kurian Joseph. In this particular judgment, it was mentioned that there is need for upholding transparency, upholding integrity of the judiciary. And that can be done only when the judge will recuse from hearing a case. The clear reason behind that should be provided. That reason should be provided. Right? So this is basically the discussion that has been provided in the article here. Now, if you ask me, sir, is there any, right, let's say country, for example, USA, is there a mandate that when the judge will recuse, they will have to give a reason? Please understand, generally around the world, there is no such mandates, be it for that matter UK or for that matter USA. Mandates are not there, but generally the expectation is that they're supposed to provide clarity. They're expected to provide clarity or the reason behind why they're recusing from hearing a case. Done. So this is an update. You can add it to the arguments whenever a question is asked on judiciary. Now, one more article, just an update. BRICS Virtual Summit. Right, the BRICS Virtual Summit is going to be held next Monday. And please understand, this particular summit will be virtual. Virtual means online. From the side of India, as of now, who is confirmed to attend, represent India, it will be External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar. From other countries, right, let's say, for example, Russia, it is said that Mr. Putin will be present. From India, is it guaranteed or any clarity regarding the presence of Prime Minister? As of now, the clarity is only that the EAM will be attending the BRICS Virtual Summit. Why virtual summit is being held? This is point number one. Why virtual summit is being held? The virtual summit is being held to basically discuss and have a united front against the tariff policy that has been announced by the government of USA. Right? Because understand this, India has been slapped with 50% tariffs, by the way. Brazil also has been slapped with 50% tariff. But in the context of Brazil, the president of USA simply says, right, the government has gone too left there. They are prosecuting the previous president, etc., etc. But the argument is they also have been slapped with 50. We also have been imposed with 50% tariff, along with many other BRICS economies or BRICS countries which have been slapped with different rates of tariff. So now the discussion is, let's band together. Let's come together and show a united front, right, let's say opposition to this kind of a tariff policy of USA. Right, so how many countries are there in the BRICS grouping? Please make a note of this. Please make a note of this. The BRICS, initially it was a BRIC, 4 countries. Then it was expanded to cover South Africa, BRICS. Now, in addition to these, right, there are many other member countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. Total 11 member countries. 11 countries are part of BRICS now. Right, so these are the 3 very important points from this article. What is the stand of USA regarding this? USA doesn't want India to be part of the BRICS. USA doesn't want India to participate in this particular forum. Okay. Now, one more update regarding Russia and Ukraine. Foreign troops in Ukraine would be legitimate target, says the head of Russia, that is Mr. Putin. What is the context you need to understand? To basically stop the conflict that is happening between Russia and Ukraine, a meeting was very recently conducted between USA and Russia. Correct? Hardly a month ago. Right? A summit was conducted between Russia and, right, let's say USA, where Mr. Putin went to, right, USA. There was a show of force. Right then, the head of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky, also visited USA along with the members of European Union, etc. But so far, what has been the outcome? What has been the outcome? Initially, the discussion was there should be immediate ceasefire. That was not acceptable. That was not achieved also. Then there was a discussion that we will go for the final settlement. That is, a peace deal will be signed between Ukraine and Russia. That also has not gone forward because the kind of demands which have been put forward by Russia is not acceptable to Ukraine. And one more issue that Ukraine has is nobody is providing security guarantees for Ukraine. Nobody is coming forward to provide security guarantees. That is basically the idea is if Russia will attack us again in the future, who will come to protect us? Who will come to our rescue? Initially, the discussion was Ukraine was supposed to be provided security guarantees by USA. But you know, right, how USA operates in the current administration. That they basically said, no, 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 we are not going to provide these kind of security guarantees. They were expecting on the lines of NATO, Article 5, where it basically says if you attack any member country of NATO, every other member country will come to the rescue. It is as good as attacking other countries as well. So the expectation was on the lines of Article 5, security guarantees would be provided by USA, which has not been accepted. Now the latest information in all of this is there is a group of countries called as Coalition of Willing. Remember this, Coalition of Willing, which is basically a group of 30 countries, and this is being led by the French president. So the Coalition of Willing has held negotiations with the president of Ukraine, and 26 countries have accepted to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. They have accepted to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. One of the component as of now that is being, right, let's say provided in the form of information is one of the component will be there will be soldiers. That is, there will be certain, right, forces which will be sent to reside in Ukraine. That is, certain soldiers contingents will be sent to Ukraine. They will be stationed in Ukraine. In simple terms or in technical terms, they call it as foot on ground. Right? So that is one of the aspect which is being discussed here. Soldiers will be sent to Ukraine, but this is not acceptable to Russia. Please understand. One of the reason why this particular war broke out in the first place is because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. And when Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and which was right very much acceptable to European Union members, that actually led to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine because Russia did not want the immediate neighbor to be a party to NATO. Right? So now if you basically provide a security guarantee where soldiers will be present, other country soldiers being present in Ukraine, that is right as good as joining a NATO. Again, as good as not joining NATO, as good as joining NATO. So that is a precise reason now the clarification has been provided. As such, already the Russian stand is Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, is not the rightful president. Elections have not been conducted. He is not the correct leader to represent, right, let's say Ukraine party. And even if the negotiations will have to be held, right, very recently this also was given in the form of statement. The Russian president will not go anywhere else. Right, Mr. Zelensky has to come to Moscow. The discussions, negotiations shall be held in Moscow. Right, so these kind of statements have been provided. Right, so this is an update. Now Mr. Putin says if soldiers from other countries will be present in Ukraine, then, right, basically they will also become legitimate targets in this particular attack. Okay, right. So this is one more update. Now, another article, right? TPCR. TPCR stands for Technology Perspective and Capability Roadmap. TPCR. Just factual information. Please make a note of this. Now, what is the importance of TPCR? This particular plan has been announced by the Defense Ministry, where they have basically put forward for the next 15 years. What is the plan? What kind of equipments, what kind of, right, let's say defense products they want to purchase for the next 15 years. That information has been provided in the form of TPCR now. What is the importance of this? Once you look at the kind of, right, let's say defense equipments they want to purchase. Now, those who want to read everything, which I don't want you people to do, just for sake of information, I repeat, just for sake of information, more than 200 defense products are being covered under this. More than 200 defense products. Some of them, the list is given here. Please don't memorize this. Right? Please don't memorize this. Just for sake of information, I've given the picture. This is from Economic Times, by the way. Just for sake of information, please go through that. Do not memorize the list. The point you need to simply take away is, one, the plan for the next 15 years has been announced. It has components, that is the demand from Army, Navy as well as Air Force. This will give clarity regarding, right, let's say what is the government of India trying to do in terms of acquisition in the defense. Because the recent Operation Sindoor, one of the takeaways is now the traditional warfare methodologies are gone. Traditional warfare methodology is not useful. It's a modern warfare. For example, drone technology. For example, navigational systems, etc. So Government of India, considering all of these particular facts, has put forward a consolidated plan for the next 15 years, which will give clarity to the industries as well, which will give clarity for the Government of India in terms of whether are we equipping ourselves to fight these kind of modern warfares. Done? Okay. Right. So this is one more information, point of information. Last, one more update. Right. One more update. That is, yesterday in the Hindu newspaper, it was discussed as well as reported saying that the Ministry of Home Affairs, that is the Government of India, has signed a agreement, SOO Pact. Right. SOO Pact has been signed. Right. That is a suspension of operations pact. This SOO Pact, which was originally signed in 2008, was suspended in 2023 after the conflicts right arose, after the, right, let's say the fight between these groups, right, in the region broke out. The government there basically suspended the agreement or suspended the pact. Since 2023, this was suspended by the state government. Now this, right, has been signed again between Kuki-Zo, right, Kuki-Zo group of communities along with the or between the Ministry of Home Affairs. Right, against this particular pact, there is a opposition. There is a criticism. Right, this particular group, that is a COCOMI, Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity. The COCOMI group has come out in opposition criticism of this particular pact. Their argument is, how can Government of India consult only one group, have a pact with only one group? Right? This basically represents what the Government of India views about, let's say, different communities in the state of Manipur. And this comes in the background of the fact that the Prime Minister is going to visit Manipur in the coming days. Done. So these are just, right, certain updates. But I feel this is my gut feeling. I feel if a question has to be asked from this particular area of, let's say, the pact, SOO, etc., no doubt, mains important. But in case of preliminary examination, they might pick up a question on National Highway 2, NH2. National Highway 2. Please go through the NH2. For example, what can be a straightforward question on NH2 in the preliminary examination? Which of the different states, through which of the different states the NH2 will pass? Is my statement clear to all of you? The straightforward question can be, which of the following states, right, are the correct ones through which the NH2, National Highway 2, will pass? That can be a straightforward question in the preliminary examination. Be aware of it. And I'm not giving you why NS2 is important, etc., because yesterday the discussion has already taken place. Done? Okay. So these are the different, right, 11 different articles as well as the concepts, MCQs that I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. The discussion has been very comprehensive. We have covered different articles from different subjects, not just polity, economics, science and technology, IR, etc. So if you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it now. Before I close the session, if there are any doubts or confusions regarding the topics that I've discussed, do let me know. Any doubts or confusions regarding what I've discussed? Okay, done then. So that's it from my side. See you tomorrow, sharp at 10 a.m., where again we will have a discussion regarding important articles from the Hindu newspaper of tomorrow. Done. So take care. See you tomorrow, sharp at 10 a.m. Have a great day.